Chad Ryan, 2nd District Councilor, Chair of DPW, which covers water.
Tim Rudd, Councilor at Large.
Beth Smith, Water Department.
Joseph Awald, Commissioner of Water.
John Walsh, Deputy Commissioner of Water.
And Beth, your title there?
Oh, sorry, I'm Management Analyst.
Management, so the books.
Yes.
The books.
Perfect.
Important stuff.
So why don't we start with your guys' rundown, and we'll go from there, and we'll let you get through your spiel before we start asking questions.
All right.
And I'm typically the biggest offender of that, so I'll be quiet.
Well, I'd like to put a little few words together. So I'd like to run through that for a few minutes, if you'd like. So again, my name is Joseph Awald, Commissioner of Water. I'm also a professional engineer licensed in the state of New York. I've been working in the water industry for 20 years. I'd like to take a quick moment to present to the Council a quick history of our department, an overview of our responsibilities, and a look at the upcoming year. We've prepared a brief information packet that you have in front of you, but let me run through some of that information. The Water Department has been supplying water to the city of Syracuse since the 1850s. In 1894, the city's water supply changed from local wells and springs to Skaneateles Lake. Our water system is quite unique. While most other systems rely on pumps to transmit the water, our system is almost entirely gravity-fed, delivering water from Skaneateles Lake to the city through 3 transmission conduits, each approximately 20 miles long. Along the conduit route, we also provide water to the village of Skaneateles, Elbridge, Jordan, and Aqua's West Hill District. Once the water is in the city, we also supply water to a few districts in the town of DeWitt and Onondaga. Since the department has been supplying water to the city for over 125 years, much of our water infrastructure age ranges between 75 and 125 years old. Our infrastructure includes 50 miles of transmission mains, 500 miles of water distribution mains, 5,500 hydrants, 7,500 valves, 11 pumping stations, 19 gatehouses, the Skaneateles Lake Dam, 2 ultraviolet light chlorination facilities, and 5 water storage facilities totaling 205 million gallons of water. All of these components in our system are repaired and maintained by our staff, and our staff takes great pride in our system and performs these repairs at any time of day and in all weather conditions. They are also responsible for performing water quality testing at the Skaneateles Gatehouse, the water storage facilities, and throughout the distribution system. We also provide a robust water protection program for the Skaneateles Lake. This program consists of sampling in the lake for bacteria, chemicals, turbidity, and water quality. As part of the Watershed Protection Program, we also provide a review of any building permits, stormwater pollution prevention plans for the watershed. We work closely with the Soil and Water Conservation District and the agricultural community within the watershed to foster environmental stewardship and best management practices in order to maintain the exceptional water quality of the lake and meet the requirements of our filtration avoidance waiver. While some investment has been made in the aging infrastructure in the last 10 years, it was largely driven by compliance with new drinking water regulations. The city's annual capital investment has not been able to adequately meet the financial needs of the aging water infrastructure. With the water system's needs in mind and the understanding of the fiscal constraints already on the city, we have reviewed our upcoming budget and have identified areas which could be reduced or modified to achieve more fiscal stability. To contribute to our pursuit of fiscal stability, we have and will continue to actively seek state government grants to help fund the essential capital improvement projects for the upcoming year. Just to give you an idea, we have several capital projects slated for completion or commencement this spring, and these include Conduit Number 3 Pipe Bridge Replacement Project, Zebra Mussel Chlorination Replacement Project, the Fluoridation System Rehabilitation and Teal Ave Water Main Replacement. 3 of these projects, the Pipe Bridge Replacement, the Zebra Mussel Replacement Project, and the Fluoridation System Rehabilitation, have construction costs totaling approximately $3,040,000. To date, we have secured $2,538,000 in New York State grants for these projects. The Teal Avenue Water Main Replacement Project will be completely funded by the New York State DOT as part of their 690 Bridge Rehabilitation Project. When new grants become available, we will continue to pursue them to lessen the financial burden on the city. In the upcoming fiscal year, we'll be investing in technology with grant funding. Grant funding opportunities to purchase portable leak detection sensors to be used on demand throughout the city when we suspect a water main leak. Locating a small leak on a water main before it breaks will allow us to reduce the potential damage from a break and better manage the cost and service to the community. We will continue to maintain a good working relationship with Aqua, providing redundancy to both of our systems through several interconnections. We have recently met with Aqua to review these locations and other potential locations in order to provide a more stable water supply to the community. We will also continue to partner with the New York State DEC and the Department of Health to reduce the potential of another harmful algal bloom this fall. With vigilant protection and cooperation with local and regulatory communities, we can provide a greater protection of our water supply. Another area in which we are currently addressing is the Morningside Reservoir roof failure. We have assembled a team of experts to review the cause of failure, and the investigation is currently ongoing. Also, to be more efficient and effective with managing our system, we are pursuing asset management, which will allow us to find the right mixture of investment in maintenance, operations, and capital that sustains organizational performance over long term and the lowest life cycle costs. This is also about capturing data to promote sound decision making and guiding investment in our critical projects at the right time. When I became commissioner, I prepared a mission statement for the department to try and encompass all that we do, and this is what I've prepared. To provide reliable water supply and distribution to the city of Syracuse and its neighboring communities through the protection of Skaneateles Lake and its watershed, maintenance of our infrastructure, and overcoming new challenges as they arise. Using this mission statement to guide us through our daily tasks, I hope it will help us perform our job to the best of our ability and continue the high quality of water supply for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Enjoyed the breakdown. Do we have any further questions before we dive into the budget from anybody? I had one question about the zebra mussel.
Yes.
What is that?
So the Zebra Mussel project deals with all the chlorination piping from the Skaneateles Gatehouse in Skaneateles all the way to the intakes in the lake. We are going to be replacing, actually currently we are replacing all the piping from the gatehouse into the intakes, which provides our chlorination at the intakes and at the gatehouse.
What can you do to deter them? Because zebra mussels are an issue everywhere, and you can't kill them with anything.
Right.
Correct?
So the chlorination basically
You're chlorinating the water.
chlorinating the water so they do not grab onto our piping. Yes.
Okay.
So the chlorination is our zebra mussel deterrent.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
That's
We've
good
been-
with everybody.
We've been doing that since 1990, and the life cycle of these pipes have kind of reached the end of their life, so we're currently replacing them. And that also, the chlorination system was our line of defense against the harmful algal bloom this past fall, which was very successful.
Because the zebra mussels elsewhere, like if they're on the outside of the pipe where we're taking them in, what do you do?
On the outside of the pipe doesn't affect our operations. It's just on the inside. You don't want them to
So it
reduce.
doesn't harm the pipe at all?
No.
All right. Further questions from my colleagues?
I just have one question. I was reviewing the energy consumption for the city of Syracuse, and the Department of Water is basically using 50% of the energy in one report. And I was wondering what is consuming so much energy and what's being done to reduce the energy consumption.
So, yeah, now's probably not the time for like a public session like you're asking. I mean, the question about energy consumption?
Yes, 50% of the city of Syracuse budget goes to energy consumption for the water.
And the rest goes to streets. I mean,
to buildings.
I mean, we can get together after this and discuss. I'm not sure what. I'll have to figure out what we're talking about there. Thank you for your question. So we'll get going with the budget, and we're on page 247. Excuse me. There's the overview. I guess my only quick question there is, the water plant, the number's dropping down a couple $100,000. Is there, seems to be the only one, is there a reason there, costs going down, or?
For the water plant, part of the reduction in our expenditures is our chemicals we use to treat some of the algae in the reservoir, woodland reservoir.
So we're saving money.
So we're saving money.
Great. Okay, on to page 248, the Division of Water. Under the staffing, on 249, it looks like you're going down one position. What's the situation there?
That's a position we've currently haven't been able to fill for several years now,
Okay.
so we're just eliminating it.
Okay, do you have other unfilled funded positions?
Yes, we currently have, I believe, 6 vacant positions.
6 vacant positions.
We're looking,
In what department?
they're spread out through each division.
Okay.
We have,
Those are 6 vacant funded, and how about unfunded positions throughout the rest of your departments or through your rest of your divisions?
Beth, do you have those numbers?
That would be one position in particular.
One position that's unfunded.
Right.
So just one unfunded position, okay.
yes.
Yeah, because some of these departments have a lot, and I encourage the books to be cleaned up and just have it be closer to where we need.
So, Commissioner, can you tell us what those 6 vacant positions are that are?
Yes, so those 6 vacant positions are water quality trainee, water system manager, civil engineer 1, instrumentation mechanic, plumber, and
Maintenance worker.
water maintenance worker 1.
And do we have a timeline or a plan for filling these positions?
Some of these positions have been open for a while. We've been advertising for them. Haven't received much feedback in way of quality resumes to fill some of these positions, like the engineering positions.
Is this an issue of market and being able to compete with some of these other folks, or?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think market probably has something to do with it. Right now, the engineering market is extremely hot in the sense of
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there looking for positions that just can't get filled. There's not enough.
You know, and I know the engineering positions in particular have some issues with that. Is there a plan to try to, are you able to manipulate some of these salaries so that you can get somebody in there?
We looked at that, but trying to be, fiscally responsible. We don't want to expand our budget if we don't have to.
No, I can certainly.
So we're
Appreciate
looking to see
that,
if we
I mean-
can gather some interest, and if we can't gather any interest, I guess we'll have to revisit that
Yeah, I mean,
and see what the cause of that
there's a
that
few
is.
empty spots. I mean, even if you were to pay somebody 10% more and not be able to get the second one, at least you got the first one.
Right,
'Cause we don't
Hoping
seem
to
to be able
draw
to
s-
get anybody right now.
right. We're hoping to draw some interest in, and then we can have that conversation,
Perfect.
potentially
I wish you luck
negotiation.
filling those seats.
Thank you.
Questions, Steve? Anybody while we're here?
Yeah, just the total water fund budget, jumping from fiscal year 17 at 17 up to
Where are you?
page 247. There just seems to be a big jump, 17 to 18, going from 17 million to 24.
Yeah, from year 17 to this past projected year that we're
You
going to
moved
finish.
you moved $1.8 million over for, what was the purpose of the transfer? It says transfer cash capital, and that's probably the difference.
So, you see,
Yeah, so 2017,
17 has-
Joe's saying we're $17 million in the budget, and 18 looks like we're going to finish with a $23 million budget.
And Steve's saying the difference seems to be the transfer capital,
Yeah,
transfer cash
and-
capital line.
fiscal year 2017 actual.
Asking about, oh, see, ours says 17 right here.
Oh, I don't see budget office.
Ours says 17.
Okay, is this not, do we not have accurate information here?
This is slightly different.
Oh, all right. So Joe and I.
Oh,
don't have
okay.
the
I'm sorry.
Page. Okay.
Okay.
Wrong
That makes
page.
sense.
There's a replacement.
Sorry.
So for numbers for
Clerical
you,
error.
fiscal year 17.
So would you care to
actual-
explain that regardless? Just,
That'd be a tough one.
Yeah.
So yeah, for fiscal year 2017, actual is 22,716,959.
that would make more sense.
That's a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Tim, you
I
got
was
any
like,
questions before we
Someone's
move
got
on
a
to
question about this?
Yeah. So the one that has the $22 million number in FY17 is correct.
Correct.
Okay. The special objects of expense row. Where is the itemized stuff? I can see the detail for the water plant, the watershed, etc. when I look in the back, but I don't see the special objects of expense. Look, page 51.
Page.
Oh, all the way back.
It's in the front. There we go.
Special objects includes employee retirement, health insurance. Not sure if you're on the right page.
Yeah, now I am.
Okay.
So most of it are the
No, it's not a,
benefits.
let me ask you this question at the end.
3.
Through it, yeah.
What's the $2.3 million transfer? That's just, you're just subsidizing the general fund? $2.3
Correct.
million. Why do we put all of the health benefits in a special object of expense instead of seemingly something more, I don't know.
I can't hear you. What's the question?
So maybe Mary
Just-
knows. So in this, that's all right. The special objects of expense. Tim was taking a look at the itemization of it, and you were talking about the employment benefits. Are you talking post-employment benefits?
Yeah.
So he's wondering why the post-employment.
Post-employment benefits are those actuarially determined amounts that the city has promised under its medical plan to retirees. So that is, the water fund is an enterprise fund, which has to be treated like a business. So the city has to accrue any post-employment benefit, take into account what that expense would be. We do it for the water fund and the sewer fund. We don't budget, it's not a cash outlay, it's just an accrued entry on the financial statements, so you're gonna see them on the financial statements. I'd love to be able to budget for it, but there's no cash outlay for it, so we don't budget for it.
You have a question, Steve?
Because you're budgeting for something that you're not gonna lay out, so if you're looking for if you're looking at water rate increases, you would have to, build that into your water rate increase and then reserve that amount of money until when you spend it. The city's on a pay-as-you-go basis for all those post-employment retirement benefits or health benefits.
Tim, you got that?
So they're paying into the employee retirement, they're paying us in for the employee retirement system now?
No, it's not retirement, it's health care. There's a Government Accounting Standards Board issuance that says if you as a municipality have promised employees retirement health care benefits, you have to account for those expenditures. So every year we employ an actuary to determine what those are for our current employees, and it's based on mortality tables, it's based on age of the participant, it's quite involved.
So the post-employment benefits are zeroed out from 2007?
We don't budget for them.
So it's just not, that's what
It's-
you were explaining, it's just
Right,
not
it's
budgeted and it goes in?
but it will be in your financial statements at
Okay.
the end of your year. So when the Bonadeo group goes and audits our numbers, that we have to include that as part of an expenditure for the fiscal year.
Okay. Tim?
Okay.
So So page 250, we'll get back there so we can keep moving. Water finance, salaries look like they're right where they were. Any questions on any of these? The 415 line for the finance office, $32,000. Are there questions from anybody regarding that? Any? Okay. All right.
I'd like to go back just to,
Please.
thank you. The meter readings, how many of those now or are they all
Remote read? Is
remote
that what-
readings?
I believe like 80% is remote read at this point.
At this point, about 80% of them?
Correct.
Okay.
And of
And-
that 80%, what's the formula for going to, I mean, you have to go not audit those, but go manually check some of those, I'd imagine those.
Yeah, they're kind of on a rotation for, based on your age of your meter or your high consumption, we would
Check them all at some point. It's just
rotate
not-
those out, yeah.
Okay.
And do you find that with the meter, with this remote, that the, it's increased the payments or the on-time payments or anything like this? Or is there any correlation anywhere in there, or?
For increasing payments, no, but I think it increases our efficiency in reading them because we're able to read more in a day than if we were to actually physically go and read the meter.
So it accomplishes the task quicker?
Yes,
Okay.
And there's less disputes, correct?
correct.
All right, well,
How has the algal bloom stuff affected your guys as far as resources and the ability to, how concerned are you about it? Do you feel like you have the resources available to deal with this problem? Do you feel, I'd like to dig into that a little bit if we
Sure.
could.
So last year was the first year and it actually caught the state health department by surprise because the water quality at Skinny-Annis Lake is so exceptional.
Yeah.
So with that, it kind of took us a little bit back, but we've added a little bit additional money in our water quality section of the budget to help identify any bloom that might occur. So we have a little more boots on the ground, I guess. And at that point in time, we were running samples to the Albany lab for testing. But since then, the governor's issued that, I believe it was $65 million to help with the 4 regions
Yeah.
with the harmful algal bloom. So we're on that committee and we're working together with the New York State DEC and putting together plans for identifying it, which involves utilizing some local labs instead of Albany to do some of the testing. We're going to be getting some training on additional testing for us to be doing, to be that first line of defense and get our eyes on what's going on in the lake a little more detail. So working with the DEC and putting together a action plan for the watershed for harmful algal blooms is kind of on the forefront of our work this upcoming spring and summer.
Right. Do they have any projections as to, do they expect this year to be worse than last year, or?
It's one of those things that's a science that's evolving. We attended the Harmful Algal Bloom Summit in February, I think it was, where they had experts from all over the country. It was a great summit to kind of share ideas and cooperate with people that you may not necessarily see on a day-to-day basis. So the science of how and why it happens is still evolving.
Okay.
So I think it's, obviously nutrient dependent. And with last year's excessive rainfall in the month of June, I think that contributed to what we saw in the fall.
Okay. So yet to be determined.
So I got some questions I guess I'll just ask before we continue to go through. The water department, what are we projecting for revenues next year?
Revenues on a whole or just sale of water?
Well, when you explain what it would be on a whole, installations and all of that, or just?
So yes, revenues on a whole, you would have, fees, sale of water. I think it's all broken down here.
Well,
39.
What page is it?
Wait, it says
30
Which page? 13?
13?
Yeah.
Is the
39.
breakdown?
39.
Oh, you have 30.
Okay, great. So revenues are 23 million, and then your capital plan for new piping. I mean, I guess I don't want, you know, I guess I'm looking for a breakdown. A percentage of this will be rehabs or emergency fixes versus, you know, new plans and piping, I guess. Are we doing 50-50? Are we?
So far, you know, on what we have going to be occurring this year is we have a couple streets that are going to be replaced, complete replacement, because we've been there so many times.
What streets are these?
We have Hudson Drive, which is in the works to be completely reconstructed, mill and pave, I believe. So we're going to get in there and do our work first, so we don't add to any new pavement cuts.
Yep.
And then we have another street that has had several breaks on it consecutively in the last year, is Elmhurst.
Okay.
That's about 800 linear feet of piping.
800 feet of piping.
Yep.
And that'll essentially be our new piping that we're installing for the year?
No, there's a whole bunch of other things we have going on that I guess we'll have our normal fix and breaks that we'll be putting in new sections of pipe.
Is there a average amount you typically try to shoot for of new piping, and is it done by footage? You try to put in, what, 2 miles of new pipes, or?
Our hope, I guess if we had a wish list, we'd hope to be doing at least 10 miles of new pipe every year.
Okay, and how much?
At
do
this
you
point, we
usually-
probably do about a mile.
A mile?
Mile, maybe two if we're
That's,
lucky.
I guess I was trying to get an idea. So,
And 10 miles compared to how many in the whole system?
no, we'd like
There's
to do 10 miles a
500
year. We do like
yeah,
a
there's-
mile.
I heard that, but
There's 500 miles of distribution main in the system.
And what would we need to get up to 10 miles? A lot more capital? Is that simply what
Correct.
we're talking about? Okay.
Majority of the cost is restoration, not the pipe.
The cost is everything.
So-
Road restoration,
so-
that's big cost.
Yeah, a lot of the cost that we incur is the street restoration, so we're trying to coordinate with the different departments and different government agencies, such as Save the Rain. When they're getting in to do full reconstruction of the road, we'd like to get in there first to put a new water main in and or new services, and then they would take care of the road reconstruction, so it wouldn't be on our.
Well, you have your two roads that you just brought up, and then DPW has, I believe, 3.5 miles of road reconstruction.
Yes.
You know, do you think it's a situation where we should just automatically know that we should redo those pipes? I mean, obviously you gotta look at it if some of them are new, but,
Right.
I mean, are those on your list of, geez, if we have any money, we should do these?
Yeah, so we've actually started doing a higher level coordination effort with County Save the Rain, DPW, National Grid, to look at where all the projects are. We put them on a map and said, all right, which ones are road reconstruction, which is mill and pave, which is slurry streets, you know. So if there is work going on in those areas where the road will be reconstructed, we're going to get in there first.
Okay.
So we have started that effort to coordinate with the different departments and agencies.
And obviously, we're tight on this year, but do you think that's something, it'll be fair to say that next year we should have a good grip on it, and certainly would be redoing the pipes on the road reconstruction list if they're needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Is Decatherm or whatever it is there, are they at the table too?
They're working
because
for
they are-
National Grid, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
through
That's-
National Grid, so
yeah.
that, so they're represented that way? They are?
Yes.
Because they are cutting up the roads everywhere.
We also have
Yes.
our contractors at that meeting too, the ones we use, like Ballard and JG Lane, they're at the table with us too, so.
But
Johnny, we know you, but the people watching this streaming, they want to hear you speaking to the microphone.
Oh, okay, how's that?
There we go.
You know, face for radio. So, the percentage of the road that they have to disturb when they redo National Grid or any of that, or water, when you do what percentage of a road where you have to do a total mill and pave? Doesn't matter, you just do whatever your job is and then patch it and.
Well, right now, what we do is, on their mill and pave list, we'll go in and when we attend their meetings weekly. So we'll go in ahead of them, check for leaks, check hydrants, valves, any road cuts that we have. we go in and restore those. So when they come through, we just did it on James Street over here. We've got the 100 block of James Street closed. And what we did is we had 2 big cuts that we went in, fully restored, concrete base. After 3 days, which will be probably Wednesday afternoon, we'll binder those to the top so that in a couple weeks or whenever DPW gets there, they come in and do, full mill and pave. So we do go through all the streets. We try to do, preventive maintenance. We sound the streets. We sound them after they mill the streets because everybody knows that really bangs up the utilities when they're milling a street. So I think the effort's there, but ideally, if we had the money, to go in and put new mains on every street they're going to recon, they would be nice.
And are you familiar with when Decatherm comes in, how much of that road they disturb before they have to? Do we set those percentages?
We did, yes.
And are they fair?
Depends who you ask, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, there's obviously permit fees, and and then there's the city specs, which they have to restore the road back to those specifications.
Yeah, but as we both know, there's spots all over the city where once they cut a road, it's done.
Right, because unless they until they properly pave it, and then you're going to seal the edges, but it's not like a new road. You're right, it's not.
Quality, I think, is lacking.
And I think there's still a 2-year warranty on their work, with National Grid, which they're a sub for National Grid. But that would be.
All right, I won't get off on a tangent here. We're going to continue to keep going.
Are there? May I ask a question?
You ask as many as you want.
Are there any areas of the city that are served by sources of water other than Skaneateles Lake? The entire city is served by Skaneateles Lake?
Correct. There's times when we have to supplement our water supply because of a intake shutdown. We take water from Aqua, so I guess that would be your alternate source, and they can get their water from Lake Ontario.
When does that happen? Does it happen often? Is it?
It happens possibly a few times a year. It's all dependent upon if we get a lot of turbidity in the lake.
Okay, and then it seems that the water fund consistently subsidizes the general fund with $2.3 million. What would you do with the money if it didn't go to the general fund? If it was your money to spend, what would be the things you would spend on?
I think we would keep investing in our capital infrastructure. Like I said, we have 11 pump stations that we need to address, all the gatehouses along the conduit. Having that additional funding would, although it's a small nugget, it certainly would go a long way.
So the money that he's referencing that's taken out, that's been taken, do you know the figures for that over the last 20 years? Has it been consistent for over 20 years? Is this a policy that started 12 years ago? 15?
It's been going on at least for 20 years. Thank you. It was like 1.2, but over the years it has increased. Now it's at 2.3 for the past few years. Okay. It has increased over the years.
Well, and I understand why it has, and it's unfortunately something we have to do. So hopefully we get to the point where we don't need to do that.
So maintenance on the pump stations is a bigger deal than the actual pipes in the street, I guess.
I think they go hand in hand. If you don't have the pipes in the street, you can't use your pump station, and vice versa. We have several higher pressure districts that we have to pump up to, such as the Hill community, SU Hill community, Winkworth pump district. There's several around the city that we pump to.
Could, can you explain a little bit about the Eastwood, what happened here a couple of years back with Eastwood with the problems with the sewers and the flooding that occurred down on the far end?
So the flooding that happened.
Familiar with that?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
Mr. Walsh, are you familiar with that?
There was flooding, and it was the sewer issue and water runoff issue.
It was done during, yeah.
Manhole fell off.
No, not that one.
That was a sewer, the
No, not that one, not that one. This is back when they had the storm, when we had the storm and the sewers, because of the slope in Eastwood.
they backed up into people's
They
houses.
backed up into
Yeah,
people's
that's a
houses.
sewer question for
That's the
DPW.
out water,
Okay,
not the in
okay,
water.
sorry, yep, okay.
So we had a conversation about some of the fee structures on some of the things that water installs, and just the archaic, numbers that they have out there. Those, as we discussed, will be coming at some point. Are they reflected in here?
Yes.
Okay. And do we know when you think those will be coming forward? Are those ready, or is this something that we have to wait for?
We're still reviewing them.
Okay.
I hope to have them ready in the next month or so.
Okay. And do we try to get that done before the July 1st?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mike, do you have any questions on anything regarding the water, engineering, any of it? The page 255, the water quality management section, surveillance of the watershed policy. Who's patrolling the watershed?
Let me see, 255. Let me get that real quick. So, patrolling the watershed, is that what you're referring to? So we have 2 inspectors out who work out of the Skinny Atlas Gatehouse, and they patrol the watershed. They interact with the agricultural community down there, the residents, and they do have daily inspections that make the round
So
of
the
the lake.
watershed, the entire watershed.
Yes.
And they are writing citations? They allowed
If-
to write? I mean, how's that work?
So, if there is a violation, we get notified of it, and we will make that violation known to the property owner that they're in violation of the watershed rules and regs. I think that will also be carried out through soil and water conservation.
Are we how do we in the DEC interact with these same watershed? Obviously the DEC has some oversight over watershed and waterways and all that. So when we are watching this watershed area, are they doing the same thing in that same area?
I don't believe they're duplicating efforts.
Okay.
I think they're relying on what we do, and we provide reports.
Okay. All right. Councilor Driscoll, do you have questions regarding any water issues or?
No, good.
The water that comes in from Skinny Atlas goes to the reservoirs, the 2 of them?
Yes.
Is one of them the main one? And what are the status of those? Are those both up and good to go after the last few years?
Yeah, Westcott is in good shape along with Woodland.
Okay.
Both of those had the UV upgrades in 2010.
Okay. All right, perfect. Any questions for the water department or anything?
I often hear that we're underinvesting in our water infrastructure.
We are.
Okay, so how are we? I mean, what should the level of investment be? And what do I say to somebody who comes up and says we're underinvesting in our water infrastructure, and fix it so that we actually invest in our water
How much do
infrastructure?
we need to invest to actually?
Yeah, well, for instance, the school district has like a every 5 years the state pays for an investigation to like estimate the need to renovate all the schools, and then we update that each year based on some formula, and then we redo it in 5 years. So we have a sense that we need $600 million to fully renovate our schools. We have $300 million, so we're going to half renovate our schools over the next few years, and I don't understand anything similar for the water infrastructure.
If funds were unlimited, we should be investing approximately $10 million a year to start replacing our water mains and transmission mains and pump stations, and that would just get us caught up.
And you'll figure it out. We have all the faith.
Thanks.
When you when you replace pipes now, you don't currently, you just cut and then you don't actually redo the street, right? It's just a cut to dig out
Redo the street, meaning
They do their fill.
backfilling and
Well, you fill it in, and then there was this whole conversation of, but then it's not the same, and blah blah blah.
so when we go in to make a repair or replace a water main, we'll make a cut in the street and we'll backfill with the correct material and put in asphalt and base and reconstruct it in our limits of disturbance. So we'll restore the road so it's adequate, but we don't mill and pave from curb to curb. We just fix our area of disturbance.
How does it work in terms of prioritizing the need? For instance, on the surface of a street, I understand that James Street is a different priority than Caleb Ave or something like that. So how do the pipes, they're like main lines that are a certain threshold that require maintenance first? Like how?
So to distinguish between like road priority versus water main priority, is that kind of your question? That's kind of what we've been tackling with DPW, is to identify those two components that both are critical and in critical need of replacement. So if both areas need replacement, the road surface and the water main, will tackle those first, and then we'll prioritize as we go through those.
Great.
Are water mains typically on main streets, or are they?
Water mains are on every street that there's a house.
Every street.
So if there's a house, or there used to be a house, there's a water main.
If you're getting water.
So water main as like a main, it's not like main street. There's certain streets, it wouldn't be every street as a main street, right? It would be like certain streets carry more traffic, certain water pipes carry more water.
The classification of a water main is water distribution piping. So water piping is in every street.
Right, okay, that I understand.
Where the water is being supplied to a residence or commercial property or industrial.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it gets a little more complicated because some are owned by the county that go right down some of our main streets, correct?
For water?
Yeah, don't they own some of these
Most
pipes?
of the stuff within the city is city-owned. There are a few lines in the city which parallel our main, but we feed all city properties.
And the interdepartmental between Aqua and you guys, we had a conversation about some of the stuff. I believe it's the east side, and you were trying to do a little forward thinking and find out, because if one spot had a break, you know, how could we utilize both of our systems to help each other? Where's that in the process?
So like I said earlier, we sat down with them earlier this year, kind of identified all those locations that we currently have and all the locations that we would like to have to provide better redundancy for both our systems. So at this time, it's just in the planning stages.
Okay.
Another thing that I often hear from people is that, I don't know what the exact name of the department is, but New York State, some division of water that Matt Driscoll was once head of, but now before he left to DOT, that offers like 1% financing for water infrastructure investments. Do we utilize the state funding that's available to us? And if not, should we?
So we've utilized all state grants that we can possibly apply for. So to date, we've received over $2.5 million in grants for projects that we are currently under construction. So we're looking for the several other grant programs out there that should be opening up this year. So we'll be applying for different grants for projects that we hope to be pursuing.
So if we had to do like the theoretical $10 million a year in investments, is there financing from the state that would help us to increase our level of investment and then have it pay over time? So it would increase water rates, I suppose, over time, but it would be over the useful life of the asset.
Yeah, so I guess there is funding we could, borrowing we could pursue, but at this point in time, I don't think we have the revenue to pay off those additional loans. We have several loans currently out there from these last projects or the last 10 years that we need to get paid off first. So once those are paid off, we can look at additional borrowing.
So forgive me for not understanding, but does I want to say the cart before the horse before the cart, I don't know, but do you raise the water rate because you're spending too much, or do you spend more because you've raised the water rate?
So if we were going to raise water rates, we would have to look out and project what capital projects we would like to do or have to do, and then figure a total construction cost, and then figure out what rate would be appropriate to raise to build that revenue over, say, 5-10 years. So if there was a project 5 years out that we wanted to do and it was $10 million, we would look at what rate increase we would have to build that revenue in, so when it came down to do that project, we wouldn't be raising rates astronomically and affecting everyone's water bill.
Right. I would be interested to know if you're able to do an analysis of how much it would cost to do like $2 million more of investment a year, $5 million more a year, $10 million, like the full $10 million a year, what that would mean to water rates in terms of moving forward in order to actually pay off the debt and do the infrastructure investment that we really should do.
We've actually hired our consultant to do a water rate study and look at the different water rate structures that are out there and what would be best for us in the future. So that information actually will be forthcoming.
Okay.
All right. And so this is a public hearing, and so...
Hang on. Can I do one more?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I appreciate this guy came out, and I've never heard that the water department uses half our energy. I don't know if that resonates as true, but does it resonate as true or untrue, and if so?
Stand up and go ahead and state your name and what street you live on, and what was your question?
Hi, I'm Michael Dunbar. I actually don't live in the city of Syracuse. I live in Jamesville area, but I'm concentrating on the energy use in the city because it's really not been progressing in the right direction with all the energy efficiency opportunities that are out there. It seems that our energy use is going up instead of down. But there was a study done in the last administration, and in the PDF it basically said that water accounted for about 49% of energy consumption for the city, and I just couldn't imagine where all that energy is going.
Water facilities?
It said water department.
Is anybody familiar with anything like that?
I'm unfamiliar with that. I'd have to look into it and get back to you.
Where did you get the PDF? What was the study? You know?
It was during the last administration, and it was the documentation was part of a bunch of documentation that they had to come up with to become certified as a green city. And I think we're just a hair's breadth away from being certified as a green city. If there was follow through on this, I believe there's millions of dollars available to the city to perpetuate some of these things.
I mean, I guess I don't know, and we can try to find out. The water, so half of our energy costs, I don't think would fall under the water department. It would fall under our finance department paying the bill for that.
The water department uses about $500,000 worth of electricity during a fiscal year. The city's utilities are about $5 million, maybe $5.1 million, and the bulk of that is street lighting.
$4 million is street lighting.
4 million is street lighting.
4 million, right, is street lighting. So the rest is the buildings the city owns.
The energy they're using is facilities, right? The buildings lights and
Well,
like,
your pumps.
Yeah.
Your
So
pumps require electricity, so.
We have those.
Could it be the cleanup of the water?
that's county sewers and stuff.
Well, I would suggest that, Jim, that you get the information from the gentleman and we can have somebody look into it and get back to him.
And then just thinking about that,
Thank
also the previous administration, they had
Thank you,
this
sir.
$1 billion, if Syracuse got $1 billion from the state, what they use it for, and one of those ideas was to use the cool water from Skaneateles Lake to chill buildings downtown to decrease energy costs in the summer. Is that just an idea in a book on a shelf, or does that go anywhere? Is that an option that we should, as downtown grows and thrives, something that we should keep on the table?
When you
Don't wait. Let him answer.
private sector thing.
So, I guess I haven't seen or heard that, but we are limited to what we can pull from Skinny Atlas Lake. There's a minimum we need to keep in Skinny Atlas Creek flowing. So we are limited by our permit to what we can pull.
Okay.
Thanks. That's all right. More questions, Tim? No, done?
I'm
You
good.
can go if you want. We
Oh,
got a
no,
couple-
no, I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay. No more questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
you.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner?
Thank you, thank you.